noticed you all were asking for the skill tree updates for Borderlands Reborn, so instead of that, I decided to do something that literally no one was asking for. The Borderlands franchise main selling point is its amazing amount of loot that you can get from it. The original Borderlands 2 trailers boasted of a large 87 bazillion guns, which at first glance my response would have been, yeah, and I'm the Queen of Romania. There have been conflicting reports of how many guns there are actually in the game. I've seen 17 million reported most often, but I decided I wanted to actually somewhat nail down the amount before they add in rainbow weapons and make this video totally useless. So there are two ways you can really look at guns in Borderlands 2. Either by the base name of the gun or by the parts, stats, prefixes, and so on and so forth. Obviously, the easy way to look at it is the base name way. The base name is usually determined by the combination of the body and the barrel manufacturer. In this way, there are a total of 12 pearlescents, 15 seraphs, 36 legendaries, 3 E-Tech uniques, 5 purple uniques, 57 blue uniques, 31 E-Techs, 165 purples, 165 blues, 160 greens, and 91 whites. So in total, if you are saying that a gun with the same base name is technically the same gun, then there are only 740 guns. Broken up by gun type, there are 178 pistols, 139 SMGs, 114 shotguns, 110 assault rifles, 103 snipers, and 96 rocket launchers. As most of us know, this amount of guns is not exactly the case when it comes to the total amount of weapons. There are different guns with different elements, different prefixes, different stocks, different grips, and so on and so forth. All of these provide different boosts that can completely change the stats of the gun. We will first be adding up all of the prefixes of these 740 guns. Now keep in mind there are exceptions to some guns, like the Tattler must spawn with a bladed prefix. There are Captain Scarlet, Miss Moxie, and Sir Hammerlock prefixes, so these aren't rules for necessarily every gun. SMGs have 6 prefixes. Assault rifles, sniper rifles, and shotguns each have 7 prefixes. And finally, pistols and rocket launchers have 8 prefixes. For each purple weapon, there is also another prefix added in the Tiny Tina DLC for gemstone weapons. Next up, we have elemental effects. This is where most exceptions come into place. No non-unique Jacobs can have elements. Some name SMGs already come with elements. Torg is always explosive, and some legendaries like the Volcano only come in one element. On top of the prefixes, there are really 3 other factors that will determine what the weapon you receive is: the grip, body or exhaust, and the sight. For grips, assault rifles, rocket launchers, sniper rifles, shotguns, and SMGs all have 5 variants. And pistols is the only different one with 8 different variants for grips. For stocks or exhausts, pistols obviously have none, and assault rifles, rocket launchers, shotguns, sniper rifles, and SMGs all have 5. Lastly, we have scopes, and for this you need to keep in mind that some weapon types can have no scopes while others cannot. Rocket launchers and snipers need a scope, with a few exceptions being some unique sniper rifles, so they only have 5 variants. Assault rifles, shotguns, and SMGs all have 6 due to the ability to not have a scope, and pistols have 9 variants. With all of these possible combinations, and this is not including level differences, you have a grand total of 2,205,960 possible guns in Borderlands 2. Just because I could have messed up, 1 or 2 uniques, I'd apply a 1 to 2% error to that number, but that's still quite a bit. Because of the 4 uniques at the beginning of the game, that adds 5,626 more guns, as they do not have the ability to spawn with elements. So that would make the total 2,211,586 possible weapons in the game. Now, this already sounds like a bunch, at least to me. But if we're talking even more technical here, A level 71 Hellfire with the same exact parts and prefix as a level 72 Hellfire is technically a different gun. Now this math is a tad bit harder and I would say a pretty inexact science. No blues or purples can spawn in the first areas of the game, but you can technically get a world drop legendary. Unique mission weapons in normal and true Vault Hunter mode are stuck at that same level. Pearls are possible to get in normal and true Vault Hunter mode, but only via slot machines and Tiny Tina's DLC. I believe they only spawn at one level each for both playthroughs. I could be wrong on that though. I've never actually gotten one. There are tons of gimmicks like this, and I tried to add all of them in. So the only weapons I had that you can receive at all 80 levels were whites, greens, and world drop legendaries. Any unique mission reward that you can get from the main game, Hammerlock's DLC, or Tiny Tina's DLC, I said you can only get at 32 different levels. 1 in normal, 1 in true, and 30 for the 50 to OP8 in UVHM. Unique weapons that drop from enemies that aren't legendaries, I have 36 levels. As most of the time the boss can drop weapons on a 3-level scale, plus the 30 levels in UVHM. I made Pearlescence 32 levels for the possibility of Tiny Tina's slot machines. Seraphs were 36 levels or the same as unique drops. Uniques that spawn in the Pirate and Torg DLC are a bit trickier as the levels can be very different depending on when you start the DLC. Because of this, the uniques for these DLCs I gave 50 levels each, which like I said could be somewhat inexact. Finally, for all of the blue, purple, and E-Tech rarity guns, I gave them 74 levels. As you cannot get them in the Southern Shelf, and assuming you can reach Sanctuary by level 6 and use the golden chest to get several of those weapons. Overall, I think those are fairly good assumptions. Some break those rules that aren't world drops, like the Norfleet and so forth. Anyways, you add all of those together, and the final number you will get. And once again, I would up this number to an error of roughly 5-ish%. But the final number is 157,390,706 total guns in Borderlands 2. To put this into perspective, if you got a different gun every second while playing this game without ever getting a repeat, it would still take you just under 5 years of total game time to get every single possible weapon combination in this game. Borderlands 3 will release in September, which would be roughly 6 years and 10 months after the release of Borderlands 2. Even with that amount of time, it's nearly impossible for anyone to see, I would venture to guess, even half of those guns. Now, imagine how many more there are in Borderlands 1, the pre-sequel, and soon to be Borderlands 3, and you'll know why the Borderlands community has been alive and will be alive for a very, very long time. Thanks for watching this one, guys. It took me quite a while to make. I'll share the spreadsheet I made for all those who want it, and maybe you can correct anything you see slightly off so we can nail down that number a little better. Anyways, remember to dislike, unsub, force Mother Nature to make it snow in April, and I won't see you in the next one.